Hello, this is Wed SR, and I will be performing Ratchet& Clank Future, a Crack in Time New Game Plus. Now, something to bring up before we begin is a little thing we like to call file manipulation, or FM. In a Crack in Time, there are actually three different New Game Plus, any percent related categories. There is New Game Plus, no file manipulation, partial FM, and full FM. Now, the way that file manipulation works in this game is by tricking the game into trying to load two things at once. In doing so, the game will copy over file information, such as like weapons or gold bolts or something like that, but it will keep the destination that the game was trying to send you to consistent. Using this, you can do a lot of strange things with starting the game wherever you like. So, going back to the categories, no FM starts you at the very beginning of the run. Full FM allows you to start wherever in the game you want, so obviously we started right at the final boss. And partial FM has the restriction of putting yourself anywhere except the final boss. So, with that being said, let's get started. So, as stated back there, because we're allowed to start wherever we want, there's going to be a couple of specific things that we're going to look for to help make sure that the game doesn't soft lock, and we'll also be starting in a strange spot, and we'll be moving through the game in a strange way. So right now, the file is actually set pretty close to the end of the game. It's right when you enter the fourth of the four main sectors in the game. And that is purely to get the location set up in the first place, so that we're able to maneuver around in the area a lot better, as well as have all of the earlier Great Clock sections loaded up. And we want that to be able to go back to both Great Clock 2 and Great Clock 1, so that we're able to reach the first and second sectors without the game getting insanely confused about where we're going to be. If you just enter a regular Ratchet section without doing a Clank section first, the game gets very confused. You're not able to leave at all from those sections. So just being able to actually load in the areas properly is very necessary.
Did you design it?
That being said, we start by going to Great Clock 2 because we need to get a very important item called the hover boots, which are one of the first items to stop you from soft locking your game. Second one is a Zoni vessel, which you get in the first sector.
Access granted. Welcome to
That being said, we will be moving through the game fairly backwards.
Where is Orvis?
Now, something so far I've been refraining to talk about is Clank. There's going to be a decent bit of Clank sections in this run, which is very different from a lot of Ratchet & Clank games. So there will be a lot of worrying about little bits of like fight RNG, stuff along those lines. Overall, the areas are fairly consistent and can be pretty interesting to watch, because there are a few interesting skips in these. Right here we death abuse to make sure that we end up skipping some of the dialogue. Saves a few seconds. Honestly, there's probably good parts during like some of the Clank sections like this, where it would be pretty good for donations. Just a lot of sitting here letting Orvis explain the tutorial that most runners of this game have heard way too many times. Excuse me. Here we got kind of difficult skip. Okay. So this is the first instance of fight RNG that we really have. It's just kind of making sure that the quarks end up going in the right spot, as well as just landing your shots correctly. Something really weird about the melee and the Clank areas is that the Scepter slams deal inconsistent amounts of damage.
You've done wonderfully.
So a regular swing deals 1 damage, and a slam usually deals either 3 or 4.
It's a pleasure to have you aboard.
Sigmund.
Note the either right there.
He said it's a secret.
So sometimes you'll end up doing those big slams there, and you just won't kill everything. There's also the chance that enemy AI will just go somewhere else.
It's also great for watching cartoons. Watch out, sir! Terratropes! Terratropes are nasty little creatures. They feed on quantum energy, so they can see your past selves. Nicely
So
done,
going
sir.
and talking
I wanna
about
help
the
you out,
story
but I'm not
of this
exactly
game,
what you'd call a
it's
fighter.
really hard to explain the story based off of the order I'm doing this, since I'm just grabbing necessary items as fast as possible instead of progressing through the story normally.
I hate you,
But
hypersonic brainwave scrambler.
most of this game progresses from the game prior, Ratchet and Clank feature Tools of Destruction, where Clank got stolen away,
That's right, run away.
and Ratchet is on a journey to go find him.
This one looks like a doozy. Computer, can you shut down the gears? and
Not
figure
that
out
you'd be able to
what's
tell
it?
from me just starting in a Clank
You
section.
should have your own theme music.
I heard that. Unauthorized sonic device on approach.
Here it comes.
Your time has come, hypersonic
Right here
brainwave
is
scrambler.
the first
Let us
boss in the run.
dance.
It's pretty cut and dry. How it works out, you just go to smack and do wrench slams over, or scepter slams. Yeah, they're all wrenches in this game, let's be honest.
Got him on the run, sir. Kick him. Use kung fu on him. Stupid brainwave scrambler. You know who you're messing with.
So it's a relatively simple, straightforward fight. Slow him down with the time bombs that the game is giving you. You do repetitive slams to take him down.
One hypersonic brainwave scrambler.
Now,
Scrambler.
something I want to bring up ahead of time
Amazing, sir.
is some more stuff involving file manipulation, because I will be doing something a little bit later that is fairly quick and looks kind of confusing. There are a few ways to do file manipulation in this game. The way that's done in usual any percent runs is through sector transitions in the ship, but we are not actually doing any of those in this. The one that we use at the start of the run is a challenge mode manip, which allows you to start challenge mode as you're entering any other area in the game, and it just starts challenge mode in the area that you selected, instead of at the very beginning. And the other one coming up, we call Great Clock 1 Warp. And I'll try to explain that as I'm doing it, actually. Right now, there's a few fairly difficult skips I have to do in this planet.
Fongoids know where I can find Azimuth?
Chief,
This one actually isn't too bad, but
something says he
good
supposedly
to
lives in the ruins of Volgrim Pass.
make sure I'm paying
Fulgrim
attention during
Pass.
it. Coming up here are
Maybe someone
the
around
really
here can
bad
point me in the right
ones.
direction.
These
See
can
what else you
be
can find. I'll be in
super
touch.
rough in runs and a heavy reset point at the beginning.
Ratchet, come in. One of the Fongoids just told me
They
about
go
a race
for
of
a
brutal
jump
warriors who
in here,
apparently hate Nefarious. They're
and then a
called
little bit
the
collision
Victorians.
there.
I'm heading over there now to talk to him.
Quark, I
And
don't
right
think that's
here,
such a
we
good
are going to
idea.
perform an out of
Normally, I
bounds.
agree with you, but the Fongoids insist that I leave as soon as possible. They paid the Aquarians to come pick me up. Here's
And
nice. I'll keep you posted. Work out.
should be good. Okay. They're just abusing some of the movement tech in this game. There's something called an extended hyperstrike in this game, which gives you a little bit more height than a usual jump attack. And you can use that in a lot of different places due to this game putting a lot of things just slightly out of reach. I need to move back there because I need the save point. If I don't grab that save point, this area gets a little messed up. Okay. That's not what I meant to do. Game. So, huh. That's actually okay. That was not what I intended, but that's way better than dying. Right here, first bit of real enemy attacks in the Ratchet sections. Third, a lot of the Ratchet weapon areas are a little bit more primitive than the Clank ones. The Clank ones involve some kind of precise figuring out where things are. A lot of the Ratchet ones are making sure you have the right weapon out and you just aim a little bit in the right direction. Aiming is even questionable with the Buzzblades.
Look at me, I'm a Lombax.
This would be another solid area for donations. This is just like 1 minute of rail grinding.
So we can talk?
So there's an optimization here. It's called fast rails. We know it's something to do with the cutscene. We have no idea how to make it consistent. And we have people in the community that would be willing to pay money for actually figuring out how to make it consistent, because it saves 20 seconds every time. It just makes this rail section move faster. What else would you want? Coming up here though, we got the file manipulation that will be doing the Great Clock 1 warp. So what I'm going to start out by doing is I'm going to pause, unpause, and repause the game. Which seems a little confusing, but what I'm trying to do is make sure that the autosave trigger is currently up on the screen. And it will quickly move to the main menu from there. And then I'll be doing some quick movement during that. So I'm going and quickly selecting new game from here. And doing this properly has the game bring over the location from a fresh save file over to the file that you are already using. And right here, I did get it. So that means the file that I was just currently playing on is now at the very start of the game, after I've gotten the hover boots. So the hover boots are still here. I still have those, because that's why we came to Torrent for, just to grab those. And now we get to start off fresh, and get to go through Quantos with hover boots. Which is actually something you don't get to see in any other category. So enjoy the tutorials after 10-15 minutes of gameplay. Pardon me.
I'll explain everything as soon as you're safe, sir. But right now, we need to calibrate your ocular response processes. Try looking at the ocular scanner on your left.
Another great spot for
Good. Okay. Now
just
look
like
at the
a
one on
quick
the right.
couple donations to read.
All right. Look at the scanner above you. Good. Now, there's one more beneath you. Got it. You're recalibrated.
So,
Now, keep moving.
because
I'll hold them off as long as I can.
since the last time this was shown at an event during GDQX, there's actually been 1 or 2 skips that have been found in the first section of Great Clock,
Anomalies detected on planet just
as well as a new tech entirely, which involves starting to hold the strafe button as soon as you climb a ledge, which skews Clank's position and allows him to ledge grab straight through a wall at times. So I'll be doing one of those kind of soon. Also, because we have the scepter, we have the ability to do a skip here that you can't do without it, which is right off of this. It requires the extra height of the swing, so you can't do it in any other version of this level. Coming right up here is the new trick. Can be a little finicky at times. Right, so right there, the game put me out of bounds, stand on the door, and that skips probably a good 30 plus seconds of movement. I honestly don't know at this point how much this saves. I know that it saves a decent bit though. It's also an invisible floor right there, so it can be a little hard to figure out where it is. That's the end of the first section of Great Clock.
Warning.
So now, after this, we will be going to Quantos with more items than we usually should have at this moment. Ideally, just the hover boots. This allows for a lot of interesting skips that you can't do without them. So there will be quite a few. This is a much more interesting planet than usual.
On a hostile alien planet. Captain Quark realized his rescue mission would
And to kill these enemies to make sure that Quark isn't getting stuck. He's usually fine with those ones over there, though.
What's the plan, anyway?
Well, where there are bridges, there are people. Where there are people,
Here's
there
the
are
first
ships.
real movement ends up being
See where I'm going
different.
with this?
Jump
Look at
here,
this beautiful
and then you
native
you try to use an extended hyperstrike to land up here. You could use an SI instead, though.
What gives?
Lost my height. I think that was because I was above Quark, it just screwed up the hyperstrike. Anyway, I was going to do some movement there around to skip some triggers and whatnot. I will still do one right here, though.
Rumble, you stupid
This
dog.
allows you
I'll
to
find another way
skip
around.
helping out
You
Quark
gonna be alright with those things on the loose?
to get across.
Please, I can handle a few tiny creatures.
Instead, just do some funky looking out of bounds movement. It's really hard to see where you can actually land there.
Help! Help!
You got it, sidekick. My thinking. I'll just stay here.
For those
and hold
guys
them.
ahead of time. Okay, so right now I'm trying to save all of these fungi children. So it's just doing a bunch of weapon uses to optimally set me up to just go from one to the next. Usually there's a certain skip that you have to do with kind of a strange out of bounds launch grab here, but since this is a category where you have hover boots, you just get to skip this entire platforming section.
Thanks, Kitty. My mom's this way, Kitty. Thank you so much.
Happy to be of service, ma'am.
There's another spot where you can probably do one or two quick donations.
So, what are
There's
these
not really much happening at this spot.
We haven't seen them on this planet in years.
What you do here is you wait for a bit, and then you move forward to kill a few enemies,
And that's
and you wait for the guy to open a door.
these creatures are the least of our worries right now. One of the characters spotted Lord Porcelain's warship over their focus.
So ideally, these are the enemies. These are the only enemies you really need to kill in this section, but sometimes the guys get stuck back there.
These woods are no longer safe. Come, we
And you didn't, so that's good.
Ow! What gives?
So what I'm looking for at this point is an autosave trigger. There we go.
I saw your starship crash on the other side of the
I need that
reach.
to be able to actually
I
progress
believe we
through the
may be of
planet.
assistance.
And instead of going up to the top there and starting a line of dialogue, I'm
But
going to
the
go
Zoni
around
can. Meet me at the Temple of Zan whenever you're
because
ready.
it's
I will explain
faster.
everything.
Why else would you do something in a speedrun, really?
Alright. The key to surviving situations
So that
like
skips
this
some
is to avoid
line.
phrases
That skips a lot of lines of dialogue, actually. Probably saves another good 30 or so. And you need the Death Beast there so that you do not get soft locked inside of this area. Otherwise, you'll get to the end here where the Zoni vessel is at,
like, according to the chief,
and you
it's one of a
will
kind.
get locked in this
Brought to
last room.
dimension by
You will
Orvis
never
and
be able to
thrusted
get out.
the Fongoids.
And he's sure it'll fix Aphelion?
At least we haven't found a way out yet.
Zoni bioenergy is the most powerful resource in the Omniverse.
Right here is coming up is one of the more significant sections when it comes to
Well done.
optimally
The vessel is
killing
yours.
enemies.
They're kidnapping the villagers. We have to stop them.
Now, I'm a strange person. I'm one of... I think I am the only person in the community, actually, that plays with third person instead of,
Oh, great.
like, shooter mode or lock straight.
Cover me while I open the door.
So some of the movement for me is a lot different than other players.
Stay close.
I need to make sure to move slower there to make sure the Fongoid is just keeping up in the end. 'Cause otherwise, they'll just get stuck at the top of the stairs and you will have no idea where you went, despite the fact that you only went forward. There's a ship coming up right here. There we go.
We're too late. Vorsalon is leaving.
Another little skip here to skip waiting for dialogue. Even though at the end you actually do still have to wait for some dialogue.
In here, quickly.
There.
This teleporter will take.
I just kind of wait for the weird noise that the guy
Use
makes,
this Zoni vessel to repair your starship.
because otherwise this cutscene will not spawn and you are soft locked. Oh, I actually almost forgot. We have to do another Great Clock 1 warp here. Because we are done in the Phylax sector now. From here, we have both of the items that we need to actually finish the game. So we're going excuse me. We're going back to Great Clock 4 at this point. So that we can actually finish the game. So from this point on, this is similar to a fairly standard New Game Plus run. Outside of Great Clock 4 here.
So, what is
This
next on
is
our
a very strange and rare category that involves you having to do the clank sections. Otherwise, the category just doesn't work correctly.
I'm coming! You computer.
Real shame with this category is the fact that it's New Game Plus to me. A lot of the puzzles in these games are actually very interesting to speedrun through. But in New Game Plus, you get the ability to just skip through all of them. And instead you get to worry about all of the enemy sections, which are far less interesting in my perspective.
Error 47? That's
They're not
ridiculous.
bad, they're just not as good.
Falls apart at least once a week.
Perhaps it is because you do not know how to fix it.
I'll fix you. Oh, hey, sir. You mind giving this station a whack with your chronoceptor? Perfect. Now we just need to test it. Do you mind, sir?
Really, I think I've said most of what I could talk about
Oh, does
through
it work?
the starting
I
progression
thought I
of
saw some
this.
strange neural
Be able
activity there for a
to
second.
gap it out
The station is
pretty
operational.
evenly
Great.
and throw in a decent amount of time for donations. There probably would be a few good ones in here as well. Because most of the Clank areas are fairly uninteresting. Wait. This is what happens when my brain goes on autopilot. Okay, well. That is fine. We will keep moving. This is the section of enemies that I do actually have to kill.
Auto repair sequence complete in solar chamber echo.
Alright. Two more small skips here at the end. Going to be skipping the very last turret here. And then you're going to do something I find quite funny.
Behind
Doors?
this door is the master switch for the entire
Oh, we're
facility.
we're going to fail the ledge grab 3 times.
On behalf of Orvis and in accordance with his wishes,
That's usually not
I
that
present to
inconsistent.
you the
Yeah, no, you can just ledge grab through the wall there and skip waiting for the door to open. It's kind of funny too because the scene there of the door opening animation is very elaborate. So it looks very epic as the door is opening up. And instead you just clip through the wall next to it and you don't care.
Insane Zane here with another dedication. This one goes out to the lovely Cassiopeia from Dr.
Now this coming up right here is a skip that is done in most categories. Say most. There's some long categories that don't do it. I like to jokingly call this Icy Peak skip since, as someone that also runs Spyro Year the Dragon, it's got a very similar style to it. It's a ledge that is just barely in reach. And it's also a skip that changes in difficulty for me with the weather. Alright, that one was low. As I said, this might take me a couple tries. Pretty much everyone in the community has some trouble with this. That was also too low. Overall, Space Station is probably the most brutal segment in the run. There are 3 skips that are not very easy. The game is not giving me good height. I don't know what's happening. This one feels good. So I would say that's probably the worst of the 3 skips taken care of now. The other 2, one of them you don't even do in new game categories. And the other one is really only a nuisance in new game categories.
Alright, I have to ask.
Here we are. The final showdown between good and evil. Can you smell that?
Could probably be another spot for donations.
Drama, baby.
I smell something, and it's definitely not drama.
Hey,
Comedic
look on the
moment
bright
that
side.
just
At
takes
least
a
we're not
while.
being squished to death by the pistons.
See if I can get something here though. Just a little goofy thing that you can do on this part.
Cover me. I'm about to do something impressive.
It's looking like a no on that though.
Muscles aching, arms burning, calves.
Wait, what?
Good.
I've never seen him get stuck by the Terra Troop. Just grab those weapons quick.
I did it! Ha-ha! Technology! I just made you my... That one was a little...
Got some more
too
fighting in the way.
The maintenance sector is crawling with...
So I need to kill every enemy in this hallway. Just to open up the next room. Luckily there's a nice visual cue to see when you finished it with the autosave trigger. Right here is the second skip.
Squishies detected in maintenance sector. All
Vent
units.
ledge grab.
Destroyed.
And we got a door ledge grab right here, or a door frame one. This one is quite finicky as well. So, the reason why those work in the first place is that the ledge grab animation in this game is a little strange. Your character isn't solid in the middle of a ledge grab animation. If you're close enough to a wall or something at the end of a ledge grab, you are... odds are you're just going to clip straight through the wall.
Stack the guards while you gain access to the Hypernova defense laser.
Got it.
So hopefully
How do
this
I do
amounts
that?
to some good.
Eh,
I did
not
some
100% of that,
manipulation
Lynn,
at the
but
start
I'm sure
there
you'll think of something.
to make sure
Just
Court got
remember,
in here and he
keep
was
it on the
walking back like
low.
this.
Avert your eyes from the exalted one. Nothing to see
What I
here.
want is for him to run back. I want him to stay back there.
Annihilate him!
Because I'm going to need to go back down that elevator. So having him start out closer to that elevator is quite convenient.
Dr. Nefarious, you didn't have to come all the way over here. The Hypernova defense laser is quite capable of clearing the debris. Say, would you like to test it out? The defense laser is fine and fast.
So I'm pretty sure these asteroids are a global cycle. Or wait, what am I saying? I meant to say local actually. Wrong way around. It's based off of like when you get onto the planet and how long it takes you to get through the areas. So if you arrive around here at the same time, the asteroids should be in about the same spot.
I may need a little backup here.
And the time lost from it's pretty minuscule in the first place. You might waste a couple seconds having to wait for an asteroid that moves around. But overall, it's not too bad. actually did get the
Sometimes when I say
optimal
this,
thing
it
there.
results in catastrophe.
We call that
What the
Quark
hey?
Walk.
Mission accomplished.
Because, I mean, he's walking. I, I really shouldn't have elaborated on that. Something I haven't actually brought up, that we did a little bit of editing with the game since
We do not
previous
have a lot
runs
of
and
time.
submissions.
Destroying the Armada will not keep Nefarious
So
away from the
now
clock for long.
we
There's no time to
don't have cutscenes in our run. We actually removed all of the unskippable cutscenes from the run, so we could reduce waiting times by 30 minutes every time you're doing a run. It's really nice for both this perspective, or for like the perspective of runners, as well as for GDQ, because I know an extra half an hour can be a lot of time. It's time for an extra run. So reducing that, and the fact that we run by in-game time anyway, it's just, why not for moving them? So you never actually really get to see the progression of this game or any of the cutscenes to show what is going on. So what happened there was, we were on Nefarious' space station, and we got kicked off by Nefarious himself, and sent on an asteroid into space, and we just happened to land on this planet. In the middle of a bad time. Alright, that one's not working, so I'm not going to bother with it right now. There is a shield guy nearby. One of the most finicky mechanics in this game has to be shield stripping. Especially with these bosses here, the Hydra tanks. They will take precedent, or the shields that these enemies, these Argorians have, will almost always take precedence over the Hydra tank shield. Making this section one of the easiest to lose time in the run for no apparent reason.
Commander Argos is trying to flood the valley. We have to get to the top of the floodgate.
Think I have an idea. We have to find some of those vine seeds.
I think I'll try going for something kind of swagger.
Let's help us defeat the Agorians.
Something that I definitely want to practice in the future if I can. I don't know if I'm going to get it in the first place. It requires entering this portal at a very specific time. Okay, I did get it. So, the game tried to load 2 areas at once, and it doesn't like doing that. And because it tried to load 2 areas at once, I am now in the past with nothing loaded. That was actually a very precise jump I was trying to do there. So that's what I was bringing up, maybe needing to practice more. That went reasonably quick though. Overall, it's just kind of a goofy thing, and it's actually faster. It's just quite difficult. Line movement is never easy. Bongo down there, just kind of bouncing back and forth.
The Vanguards will remember.
I just wanted to point that out because it looked kind of goofy. Okay. And on the bridge, okay. I was perfectly fine.
If you find any battery bots, just toss them into these charging stations.
That jump is especially scary since if you miss it, you just die. It doesn't send you too far back though, so it's not horrible. But this run is pretty optimized, so having something like that happen is not good.
Altimeter, thruster.
It's optimized to the point that maybe another minute can be shaved off of the record.
Nothing to it.
But you wouldn't really want to lose just 20 seconds to
That is the radio.
being dumb and not loading in the level.
Wasn't supposed to pop off, was it?
Why do I even bother?
But as a marathon thing, obviously, it's something good to show off. Coming up here is just the rest of the boss fight gauntlet. We're heading to Nefarious. We fight and defeat Nefarious. We head to Azimuth. We fight and defeat Azimuth. Game is over. You win.
9099 Delta has just arrived at landing platform Zulu. All fueling
Friendly reminder to anyone looking at this game: run on the NTSC version,
Lawrence must have flown
because this
back
elevator
to
moves
We
way
have to
faster.
get that starship
You
before
lose
it
about
leaves
20
the
seconds on the PAL version of this game due to that elevator. Or transport pad?
fueling sequence.
I think we just call them elevators. Despite the fact that it's, I mean, it doesn't look like an elevator at all.
I've been waiting a
And
long
Nefarious is actually a
for
really
this.
difficult fight to
Lawrence, fall back
play
to the outer
optimally.
perimeter. Let no damage befall our ship.
because a lot of it requires point blank rhino shooting, and he sits off of the edge of the map. So
Where did you get that?
I was getting my buttons mixed up.
Initiate hypernova defense laser.
Oh well, that wasn't horrible stuff. A little bit of RNG in these sections is where he ends up dropping these electric waves. It really only matters in the second phase though. First phase, if you jump over them, you don't really lose any time, but in the second phase, he ends up shooting 2 waves at a time sometimes.
Cannot take more than that to stop me. Lawrence, atomize, ratchet, and clank.
Alright, second phase. Actually skipped a section of enemies there, but it's pretty common to skip that in New Game Plus. It requires some setup to do it in New Game though. Called ship skip. Doing some really bad RNG right now actually.
Yes. Yes.
You want him to spawn all of these to the right.
Freeze out with the maximum annihilation. Do something, Lawrence.
Just need to wait for Nefarious to come down.
Think you can defeat me? I was the one who found the great clock. I was the one who took out that pathetic crony. It was all.
Unable to disengage
There we go.
autopilot. Please reboot system and try again.
first, or I guess the second boss of the boss gauntlet. The last one coming up in a minute and a half or so.
This is all his fault. He left me no choice.
The end section of this is just very, very straightforward, very quick.
Come on, I don't want to kill you, but I will if I have to. Miserable, heartless, soulless little...
Oh, Sigmund, what are you doing? He's a scary demon Lombax and you're after the planter!
Is it so much to ask that the great and powerful Sony... I'm sorry, Rex.
Doing it, sir!
I've come too far to fail now!
General, what are you doing?
Correcting a mistake! The Lombaxes are coming home! With or without your help! Try this!
Ratchet, look out!
General, you have to stop this! You can't change the past!
I'm gonna go for a little thing here that other people don't think is super RTA viable.
I can't let you get
That right
in the
there
way.
saves about 1 second. But if you fail it, you lose 20 or 30.
Ratchet, we cannot let him touch that lever.
I probably won't go for that during a marathon setting. More of just a little thing I wanted to show off.
The temporal shift.
I didn't want it to be like this. You were supposed to be...
Quantum tunneling
And then this
initiated.
is the final boss.
Warning.
So,
Breach
time
detected
and
at actual station 11,
now.
14, 23.
So before I end this off, I want to check the in-game timer to get an idea how that run was. Since we run this by in-game time. Either way, thank you for sitting down to check this run out.
Wretched space rat.
I hope this run ends up coming into some consideration. I know a lot of the avoidance for this game was due to some of the cutscenes and stuff and how slow the categories can be. But I feel like this category is very different from when it comes to the usual. So I'm hoping that ends up elementing into some sort of influence towards it. I would love to see this game get into GDQ, to a standard GDQ more than a GDQX. I feel that it's more than deserved that at this point. Anyway, so the time we got here, this is looking like a 35, a high 35. My PB is like a 33, 32. Like 2 or 3 minutes off, which isn't bad. Yeah, anyway, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.